Hello dear 12th class students. In today's video, I'll be taking up questions from section B and section C. Now section B and section C. Section B onward we have subjective questions. That is, you will have to answer and explain the steps very clearly. Now, depending upon the weightage of the question, you have to strategically plan out what is required for simplifying or solving that question. As per this section, this is a 2 mark question. The 2 mark question says that not more than 4 or 5 steps are required. So, what are those 4 or 5 steps that I'm trying to explain? Okay. Now, this may be you will get internal choices. Now, you have to decide during the reading time which question you are going to attempt, which question you are more thorough, which question will be lengthier, which question has more of calculations. All these things you try to identify during the reading period. 15 minutes time that you get. And then once you have decided, after comparing the two questions, once you decide that this is the question, just put a cross before that question so that when you start attempting the question, you don't look at that question. Okay? Look at that question when you get stuck up in the previous options. It is very rare that you will get stuck up. You will always get the solution. You just recollect the properties, you will definitely be getting the solution. Right? So, shall I start the questions? The first question, again, as I said, we'll have to decide. Now, make another strategy. That is, you have to decide the time that is going to be given for any question, like, or in fact, for any section. Section B has 2 mark questions. There'll be 5 questions. You have to attempt 5 questions. So the maximum time that you can have for each question is 3 minutes. Do not take for any question more than 3 minutes. So, on an average, 15 minutes, 15 to 20, at the most 20. The moment you see the clock that it's going beyond 20 minutes, stop your work there, go ahead with the next section because unnecessarily you're going to waste your time. And towards the end, you have section D and E, which are relatively easier question, though little lengthy. So, if you attempt those questions, you might get full marks. So, that strategy you will have to plan out. So to start with section B, you have decided of the two which one will be taken up to solve it. Now here, when you see the questions, when you compare the questions for deciding which one to be attempted, you'll find that there are no parts in this first option, but there are two parts in the second options. Does that mean that the second option will be lengthier? You'll have to decide. It doesn't usually seems to be, but here since there are two parts, you'll have to attempt two questions here. There'll be one part here, but when you read the question here, you will find that it is not just one part. It is the second part is in it, which is based on the first part. So as such, there is no difference between the two parts. It is in continuation, but there are two things to be done here. So both way, it's the same thing. But in this, there are little more calculation part. So you can try to avoid this. It will this first option has easier steps, lesser steps as compared to second option. These are the strategies that you have to work out that 15 minutes time to see that you are able to manage to attempt the question within the time limit. If you follow the pattern that I am telling you, you will definitely be able to attempt the question time. The section B questions should not take more than 15 minutes, 3 minutes at the most for each question. There will be some questions which will require some computation that is a little more time, but there will be some questions which will where you will be applying the property and getting the answer immediately. That way you can manage the time. Fine. Shall I start this? To start with, the first question that we have is a question based on equation. अब इस equation में क्या निकालना है? Value of x. X is the unknown quantity. So let us go for the first part. That is got. So what is that you have? How do we write the solution? That also I'm telling you. Fine. The solution part. Cot inverse x. It's an equation. So please do not take up the left hand side, right hand side, and it's an equation. Write the whole thing together. It is cot inverse x is equal to now cos inverse minus 1. What is cos inverse minus 1? It's pi. Minus cosec inverse 2 on root 3 is pi on The next step that you have is x is equal to, make sure that you write down the required step because it is very clearly mentioned in the question. Show your work. That is, whatever steps you are writing, if it is incomplete, you might lose marks for that step. So make sure that you don't miss out any question step. That is cot of pi minus pi on 3. Now here, what condition will give us the value of this expression? Just recollect cot of, it is written as pi minus theta. Pi minus theta is minus of cot theta. So that gives us minus of cot pi on 3, that is minus of 1 on root. So here we got the value of x. But you have to further go with this expression, that is tan inverse 1 on x. Therefore, what is tan inverse 1 on x? Tan inverse 1 on x means reciprocal of that x that you got. That is minus of root. So as per the principal value of tan function, the value of this will be minus of pi on 3. So I'm just trying to recollect, make you all recollect. If you have sine inverse of minus root 3 on 2, then in that case, this corresponds to the angle minus pi on 3. Likewise, if you have cosec inverse of minus 2 on root 3, this will also be minus pi on 3. If you have cos inverse function, cos inverse of minus root 3 on 2, this is 2 pi on 6, 5 pi on 6, sorry, it's 5 pi on 6. Similarly, this is also equal to sec inverse of minus 2 on root. But that is not the situation when you have cot inverse x and tan inverse 1 on x. There is a difference. There is a difference. So you can see the difference here. It is 2 pi on 3, whereas here it's minus pi on 3. So that was the purpose of this question here. So this question will help you to remember these properties. That is, sine inverse x and cosec inverse 1 on x, they are same. Cos inverse x and sec inverse 1 on x, they are same. But that's not the situation for all values of x in cot and phi. If it is positive, x is positive, it will be same, but it is negative, then it will have pi plus pi more. So we have to rewrite that expression. Fine. So I move on to the next question. The next question is, it's the optional part. So let me help you out with this also. You have to find the domain of the function. The function given is sec inverse. Try to recollect the domain of sec function. If you have a function sec inverse x, what will its domain and range be? Domain, the value of x will be greater than 1 but less than minus. And what will its range be? Remember, it is 0 to pi except this difference pi on 2. So it will not correspond to pi on 2, but all values from 0 to pi. And the ratio will be greater than 1 but less than minus 1. So making use of this information, we'll take up this question's domain. So what do we have? What is given as sec inverse of 5x minus, that is 5x minus 3 should be greater than or equal to 1, so less than equal to minus 1. Now this is an equality, and now this is a question of 2 marks. Of the 2 marks, there are 2 parts. So obviously this will carry 1 mark. So the simplification part, you don't have to explain in detail. Just take up the mental calculation if possible. Otherwise, you would work it out. Take up the mental calculation. I write down the final step. So what is the mental calculation? Minus 3. That is, you add 3 to all the sides. I'll just show the steps. Add 3 to all the sides. 3 to all the sides plus 3. That is giving us this information that the 5x is between greater than 4 and less than 2. Therefore, what will the value of x be? Value of x will be greater than 4 on 5 but less than equal to 2 on 5. So as for this function, the value of x will not lie between 2 on 5 and 4 on 5. I'll try to show through the graph. Just check this. That's the function that I've. There's half of cos inverse. They have been given converted into cos. Sec inverse of 1 on x is cos inverse of x. So cos inverse of 1 on x is sec inverse. So same thing it has been written. Now look at this graph. Look at the graph. So what do you find? The value of x starts from 0.8. 4 on 5 means 0.8. And see, it's zero point 0.4 here. Zero point 0.4 on the left hand side and 0.8 on the right hand side. So it's greater than 0.8 and it's less than 0.4. There is no value of x which lies between 0.4 and 0.8. Isn't it very clear through the graph? Fine. Now we move on to the next. That is the range of this. Now, how do we find the range? As I said, sec inverse range is between 0 to pi, but not pi on 2. Now, when you look at this expression, cos inverse, the expression given is cos inverse. A cos function's range, if you see, is the cos function's range. You have a function hx, which is equal to cos inverse of x. Then this hx will lie between 0 and pi. So the moment you see this cos inverse, you will be tempted to write this statement. But be alert. There is an alert sign here. This is 1 on 2x minus 1. That is, this corresponds to, this actually is nothing but 3 times sec inverse. It is sec inverse of 2x minus 1 minus 2. So we need to bring in the condition for sec function, not this cos function. So you have to rewrite this statement, that is all values of 0 to pi except pi on 2. So how do we start with? Well, let's start writing the statement. That is, it is sec inverse function, that is 2x minus 1, lies between 0 to pi, but it's not equal to pi on 2. So how should we explain this? I prefer to go for this. That is, I'll take it as two statements. One is this statement, and the second statement is the second statement is second statement is this is sec inverse 2x minus 1 is less than equal to pi but greater than pi. This is how we should take up the question. Now let us rewrite the question. It's 3 times. Let's multiply the whole expression by 3. When the whole of expression is multiplied by 3, what we get? Let's rewrite that statement. This is giving us 0 is less than equal to 3 times of sec inverse of 2x minus 1 is less than 3 pi on 2. Now what is 3 pi on 2? What is 3 pi on 2? 3 pi on 2 is, it is less than 3 pi on 2. 3 pi on 2, put the value of pi as 22 on 7. So that gives us 33 on 7. It is 33 on 7. And this is 33 on 7 is less than 3 times sec inverse of 2x minus 1 is less than equal to 66 on 7. 66 on 7. So let us now bring it to this step here. What we require, minus 2. So take minus 2 again on all the sides is less than equal to this minus 2 here. A minus 2 here will make this a function. So let me write it short. This is less than 33 on 7. So just see the number of steps that is required to explain this answer. This is taking little more longer time. So you can decide while reading the question, when you read the question, which question you have to attempt. Minus 2, This is also minus 2. We'll have to take minus 2 on both all the expressions. 37 upon 33 upon 7 minus 2 minus 2. So what we get from here is minus 2 is less than equal to fx is less than 33 minus 14, that is 19 on 7. And this is 19 on 7 less than fx is less than equal to, this is minus 4, that is 52 on. So you can always write the concluding statement as the value of fx is between minus 2 to on 7, both included. Difference, that is, you need to remove 19 on 7 from this interval. So that's what you have as its range. Now let me explain it through the graph for this function also. The function that we have is, it is 3 times of, it is 3 times of sec of 3 times sec inverse sec inverse 2x minus 1 minus 2. This red colored curve corresponds to the new function that we have written. See, I'm reducing the scale. I think now it's little clear. So this value, the red start on this side, the lower side, the least value of fx, it starts from minus 2. It is going up, it's getting closer and closer to one value, and it is like from the negative also, it starts from that value, goes up to, it is here, it stops here. That is something little more than 7.5. That's the value of 52 on 7. And then 19 on 7. 19 on 7 is very closer to 21 on 7, that is very closer to 3. So you find that if you draw a line at line parallel to x-axis, that is y equal to 3, it will not intersect the curve. So that means the range of this function is not minus 19, minus 2 to 52 upon 7, but not 19 on. So I think this part has been made clear. So this optional question was little lengthier. Anyway, that's a question that will give you an idea. If suppose it comes as an independent question, then you'll have to work out. So it has given you an idea how to handle this type of question. So the questions that I am taking up, the question that is there in this paper is will help you to handle the questions during the examination. Right? Now we move to the next question. That's the second question of the section. That's a question on matrix. And the question says that the matrix is the sum. This is the sum of symmetric and skew symmetric matrix. That means, in short, what it has said is you express this as a sum of symmetric and skew symmetric. Now, do you recollect how do we express any matrix in the form of sum of symmetric and skew symmetric? Isn't it half of the sum of the matrix with its transpose plus half of sum with the difference A transpose? So the matrix that we have here is a symmetric matrix, which is B, and the matrix that you have here is the whole of this, half from half. It is C. So B transpose, the transpose of B is B. It is symmetric given. The transpose of C is minus C. So which matrix is asked? You have to find this matrix. How do we get this matrix? It's very clear from here. That is, for working out C, you require the transpose. I'll write the transpose. The transpose is interchanging of a row to column. The first row becomes first column. The second row, 4, 2, 3 is the second column. The third row, 9, 7, 1 is the third column. Right? So this is a matrix. Now, what is the matrix? It is half of the sum of the two matrices. That is a difference. Sorry, difference. So you'll have to take difference also. That is, it's minus of this. take a minus. That minus, we can take it inside. So when it goes inside, it becomes minus of each element. As every element of A is positive, so every element of A transpose will now, minus of A transpose will be negative. Now you can add the two. It's easy for you to add. You don't need to show this step. You can simply subtract the elements. Okay. The first number that you have is 6 minus 6, that is a 0. And 8 minus 4, that is a 4. 5 minus 9, that's a minus. Then next you have 4 minus 8, that is minus 4. 2 minus 2, that is 0. 3 minus 7, that is minus 4. And the last one, 9 minus 5 is 4. Then 7 minus 3 is 4. And 1 minus 1 is. And finally, what is it? You will have to rewrite it because you'll have to take this also inside. That is what the actual matrix is. Do not write any scalar quantity before it. Just take it inside. So this will be 0, 2, minus 2, minus 2, 0, minus 2, and that is 2, 2. This is a matrix which is, so this will not take much time. Very fast you'll be able to get it. So I don't think it has taken 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So you are saving some time from this question. You can utilize it for some other question. The reason I said maximum of 15 minutes is required to solve section B. Do not take more than that. Okay? Now next is the section, next question, 23rd question. Now 23rd question, if you read it, you will find that it's a question for finding the derivative. Now in derivative, the expression that is given is a very simple expression. It's a very simple expression. It's a direct expression. So either you explain it very clearly, that is, you are since show your work is mentioned here and it's a 2-mark question. It is better you show that to this substitution, that is t is equal to t to the index sec x plus x. Therefore, what will y be equal to? Y will be t to the index. So now what is that you will have in this statement? We have the derivative of y with respect to, and that comes out to be 4t. Then we have from here t with respect to x, that is t to the index, derivative is exponential itself, with derivative of sec x. Derivative of sec x is sec x plus sec x tan x, then plus the derivative of x, that is 1. So finally, what is that you have to get? You have to get the value of d dx of y, that is dy on dx. What will that be? Dy on dt and dt on dx. So it's 4 times t. What is t? Write its value. What did we assume? It is e to the index sec x plus x to the index multiplied to the next quantity, that is sec x tan x multiplied to e to the index sec x plus, since show your work is mentioned, so I expect that you all will do this way. Don't write the statements directly. The chances that you might lose marks. Now here also it won't take much time. It hardly took 2 minutes. So you can save your time. There's nothing in it. Whatever time is required for the question, you will take only that much time. Fine. Now moving on to the next question. This question is a question from vectors. Again, that's a choice. So as I said, you have to decide in the 15 minutes reading time which question you will be attempting. Now here, the two options that you have. One option says that there is a vector v with this information, that is dot product of the two vectors are equal, and then you have to prove this. That is, you have to start working from here and then get the result of this, isn't it? So there is computational part. So let's read the next question and see what is in it. It is saying that QRST and QRTP are two parallelograms. Fine. QRST and QRT have identified the two parallelograms. It is asked, using the vectors shown from this, prove that the areas of Q, that is, you have to find the area of the parallelogram QRST and you have the area of QRTP. Now, what is in it? You are finding the area of two parallelograms. What is the area of any parallelogram? To start with, let me take up the area of the parallelogram. So I'll tell you this question. This is a better choice. So what is the area of this parallelogram? QRS. Isn't it the magnitude of the cross product of the two adjacent sides A cross B, which is already mentioned, so nothing to be written. It is this statement that you have to write. We have the area of the parallelogram QRST as magnitude of A cross. Now moving on to the next part, that is you have to find the area of the parallelogram QRTP. So QRTP has one side A vector. There's another side, that is what is this side? Look at this side. You have to get this vector first. Only then you can find the area. We can apply the cross product between these two sides. The question is, what is the value of this vector? This is nothing but that is the vector RT. The vector RT is nothing but the sum of the two. It is that common diagonal that you have, co-initial diagonal. For any parallelogram, one diagonal with the same initial point is the sum of the two adjacent sides. Whereas the other diagonal, QS, will be the difference of it. Right? You can use the triangular law also and get it. So that way you have the sum of the two, the sum of the two. This is A. Isn't this vector B vector, parallel vector? So won't this be A vector? So you have the sum of the two as RS plus ST as RT. So we have this as sum. So now let's get back to the area. What is the area of the parallelogram? QRTP. It is half, it's the product of cross product of the two adjacent sides. One is A, the other one is A plus. So that means there is a lit computation here. Okay. What is it? You just have to open the bracket. Here, what you get is A cross A is the first element that you have from it. A cross A. Now A cross A, product of cross product of two same vector, it will be 0. So hence it will be 0. So what is left is A cross B. A cross. So don't you find that these two quantities are same? So hence you have to write the answer. You have to show means you'll have to write that statement. Answer part. What is that answer part? Area of parallelogram QRST and area of the parallelogram QRTP, they are equal. So how easily we could get it? There's less of calculation and lesser risk of losing mark. Everything you have written completely. Now let me take up this question. Now in this question you have been given that is P dot Q and Q dot V are equal vector. So we need to start with this given. Given. What is that you have given? They have given P dot V vector. V has been defined as the sum of two vectors. It's a scalar times. That is, it is in the direction of Q and R. Sum of the vectors. It is Q plus R. Fine. That scalar quantity I have taken it separately. Now this is Q dot again V times. V times means K out. We can take the scalar dot. It is Q plus R. So that way we have the result. That is, we'll have to take up the simplification. What simplification is seen? It is P dot Q plus P dot R is equal to Q, or the scalar quantity gets cancelled automatically, plus Q dot R. Now, do you find any further simplification in it? You'll find that except for this term, there is no other simplification. What is that giving us? It's giving us 1. So let's keep that 1 on the right side and take all the terms to the left hand side. That way you get P dot Q plus P dot R minus Q dot R is, and they are all unit vectors, so their cap has to be there, is 1. Make sure that you put a cap over all these vectors. Now this is the result that we have. Now using this result, you have to prove something. Let's take the left hand side of the proving part. What is the left hand side of the proving part? You have to multiply this 2. So write down the result, and what is it? P dot P. As I'm saying, this is a 2-mark question and it should not take more than 3 minutes. So whatever is required, write down that. We will not have to copy the steps you can always take up the first simplified step for answering. So here again, P dot P is 1 minus. Now what you get, the rest of the expression, isn't it negative of what you have already got here? So what will its value be? 1. So what is the resultant of the 0? That's what you had to prove. That's what you have. So this is going to take little longer time as compared to the second option. So that's what you have to decide. So I'll keep on reminding you how you will have to attempt the paper. So now we have come to the last question of the section B. Now, in this question, what is saying? Let's read the question. The question says the vector equation of a line is given. Yes, this is the equation of a line in vector form. But this is also not exactly they have combined the form. The actual equation that we are familiar. What is that we are familiar with? We are familiar with R is equal to R1 plus lambda times the direction in which it is. That means R1 is the point and what is that point mentioned here? It is the point A. And what is M? It is the direction, that is dr of the line AB, because it is passing through B also. It's a dr of line AB. So that is actually the vector form. So how do we rewrite it in the Cartesian form? By compiling, by equating the components. That is, component of I on the left hand side is x, on the right hand side is x1 plus x1 lambda. So I'm just telling you how to take up for x. What we have on the left hand side, it is x. What do we have on the right hand side? It is x1 plus x1 lambda. So the way we need to rewrite this statement is this way. That is giving us lambda. So each component we will compare and express everything in terms of lambda. And that expressing that in terms of lambda is giving us the Cartesian form. This is the Cartesian form. When you see the y component, you get y minus y1. y1 from here upon 2y1 upon 2y1 will be lambda. Likewise, z minus z1 upon 3 times of z1. That is, all this is equal to lambda. This is the equation of AB. This is equation of AB in Cartesian form. Right? So now the question, first part is over. Now the second part. A's coordinate is given. That is x1, x2, x1, y1, z1 is given to us. Now using the Cartesian equation of the line, find the coordinate. Now, how do we find the coordinate? What do we have? This, what is this? As I said, this is the denominator part represents this x1, 2y1, 3z1. They represent the direction ratio of AB. Now, how could we get it? That is, how do we get it in terms of the general line that we have x1 upon, since it's passing through xb, let me take the coordinate of b as x2, y2, z2. So isn't it this? Similarly, this is y minus y1. What do we have in its denominator? It should be y2 minus, and then the last quantity, it is z minus z1 upon, it should be z2 minus z1, which is equal to lambda. So that means we need to compare these two quantities. X2 minus x1 is equivalent to x1. So we have x2 minus x1. x1 is mentioned, it's minus 2. The minus of minus 2 gives us plus 2. That is equal to x1, that is minus. So that is giving us the value of x2. Is similarly y2 minus, now what is y1? Y1, it is 5. And what is y2 minus y1 here? 2 times of y1. 10. That gives us y1, y2 as. The last one is z2 minus of 3 plus 3. That is equal to 3 times of z1. That is minus of 9. And that gives us the value of z2 as minus 12. So what is the coordinate of B? The coordinate of B is, it is minus 4, 15, and minus. So this way we are done with section B. Right? So we have the coordinate of. Now we move on to section C. Section C. In this section, it's a 3-mark question. Section C is a 3-mark question. The very first question we find there is a choice. There is a choice in section first question. And decide which one you have to do. Both the questions are based on differentiation. It's a 3-mark question. So maybe there will a little more calculation in it. Now, what is the time limit that you need to take up for each question? There will be 6 questions, not more than 5 minutes. Not more than 5 minutes. That is half an hour should be used for taking up questions section C. Again, you decide from the two. When you see this question, you should be able to relate the question's expression and get the answer immediately. When you see this question, what relation comes to your mind? That is, there is a working part for simplification of x and y. Here, yes, there is a relation between u and y. If you're able to identify the relation, you can decide which question you have to take. In any case, I feel that this question requires little more steps as compared to this can be done easily. So let us check whether with this first part of first option is easier or not. Now, if the expression is given in this form, it's a parametric form. And the derivative of u with respect to v is independent of theta. That is, there's no role of theta in it. So is it possible that you can connect the two variables? Check whether you can connect the two variables. Both are exponential expression. So both exponential expression in the form of sine inverse and cos inverse. Immediately you should be able to relate it through this identity, that is, what is sine inverse x plus cos inverse x. If you have somehow this x, isn't it pi on 2? Can you manage to have this in this expression? Which operation will give us this? Since it's a minus of cos inverse x, so isn't it u on v? This is giving us e to the index sine inverse theta upon e to the index minus cos inverse theta. Now, when you rewrite this exponent expression, don't you have this as sine inverse theta plus a cos inverse theta, which is nothing but e to the index pi on 2. Instead of writing e to the index pi on 2, e to the pi index pi on 2 means it's a constant expression. So instead of writing the whole expression, we can always have it as a k. So what we get is u upon v is a constant. So let us now differentiate u with respect to v and see what we get. That is, the next thing is derivative. So obviously the 3 marks that is there will have marks, you have marking for this step also. This is the step which will give you at least 1 marks. Then you go for the derivative. What is it? Du on dv. Which formula should be taken up? It is u on v. Which formula should be taken up? The quotient rule. Denominator multiplied by the derivative of the numerator minus numerator multiplied by the derivative of the denominator. So we are differentiating with respect to v means it will be 1 upon the square of the denominator. And what do you have on the right hand side? A constant, so its derivative will be. So what do we get finally from here? Du on dv is nothing but, when you rewrite the statement, you get it is u on v. And what is that quantity u on v? U on v is, from the previous statement, it is a. So isn't u du on this hence the proof? No, the statement question says state whether it's true or false. So you will have to answer this. So that will carry marks. What is the answer? The above, that is du on dv, is independent of, is is a constant for any value. That is, it's independent of theta. It's constant for any value of theta is true. you will have to write the full statement is true. So this statement will carry half mark. And accordingly, you can decide the rest of the marking part. So that is how this question can be taken up. If you think of taking up independently du on d theta and then dv on d theta, it will require little time and more of steps. So, and the chances are that there may be some mistake in between. So, we have used the property of inverse to convert this into a simpler expression. So, see, I don't think this equation, this part will require 5 minutes. It will be done within 5 minutes. Now, let's take up the optional part. Now, the optional part has an expression in terms of I, x, and y with some indices. So, if you look at carefully, to get dy on dx, it is better that we simplify it first. The simplification is collecting the terms of x on one side, y on the other side. So what do we have as x? If I take all the terms of x on one side, the index of x will be, this is m, when the x term from the right is taken to the left hand side, it goes in the denominator and hence the index becomes negative, minus m plus n. And you're keeping y on the right side. So the index of y that you have from this part is m minus n. And then this is multiplied by, we are taking y to the index n to the right hand side. It gets added up. So it gets added up. This is the expression that you get from here. So then the simplification, the express that we get is x to the index n is y to the index n. See how easily we could simplify it. Now, isn't it a better expression for differentiation than the given expression? What is its derivative? N x to the index n minus 1 is equal to m y to the index m minus 1 dy on dx. Now, the question is find dy on dx. Have the answer. Dy on dx is n upon m with x to the index n minus 1 upon y to the index m minus 1. Now, this is the answer. Fine. Do not go further from here. Now, in case you are left with some time, that is now you have left this question here, we answered it, and one more thing I'll remind you. After every solution, please leave at least 2 or 3 lines for in case you miss out anything, you can always add on that expression rather than making that expression that is in complicating that situation here. Fine. So leave 2 3 lines to add on if required. So what I'm saying here is leave this expression in this form because that is what is asked. You got the value of dy one day. Now you don't feel comfortable with this expression, you can always work on it later on. But that is after you come back once again before you submit your paper. You will get little time. As per my time management, I know time management that you'll have is you'll be able to complete the paper in 2 hours 45 minutes. If that is so, then you'll have the remaining 15 minutes which can be utilized for doing up all these. Right? So how is that to be covered up? What is that I'm telling you? This can be rewritten further as you have dy to write it in a better form. Otherwise, as I said, please do not touch this expression. It is already explained very clearly. You have already written the answer. Now, the expression that you see is not comfortable. You are not finding it good. So I'm trying to help. What I'm doing is I'm introducing x here and I'm introducing y here. Why I'm introducing? So that this becomes x to the index n. The whole expression becomes x to the index n. But you all know that in mathematics you cannot do that way. You will have to rewrite it. I multiply divided by this. So what is the purpose of this? This becomes x to the index n. That is the statement. So this statement is brought here, which gives us 1. So what is dy on dx? When you compare this statement with this, it is ny upon nx. This is a better form as compared to. So this can be done only when you have time left after you complete the complete paper. Fine. So that's what you have in this. So again, this question also, if you look at the simplification, after simplification, it will not take time. So you give some time for reading the question, analyzing the question, then decide which method is to be taken up before you immediately start the question. Every question, may it be a 1 mark question, 2 mark question, 3 mark, every question has a time allotted for analyzing. Working part requires little lesser time. You analyze the solution, then only you go ahead with its solution. Before that, please don't work out anything. You will be unnecessarily wasting your time. Now, coming to the next question, the antiderivative of the function. The antiderivative of the function. Now, listen to this. So, you have to remember this fact, that is antiderivative of any function. It is this. So, what is that we have? It is integration. Antiderivative of any function is known as integration. We have 3x minus 1 multiplied by fx. Integration is 3x to the index 4 minus, that is 13 on 3. It is 13 on 3. This has to be highlighted. Just highlight it, highlighting part. So whatever is important, that's another thing that you have to remind yourself. Whatever is important, please highlight it in the question paper so that you remember that you have to take extra care when you work out on the solution. Right? So this is antiderivative. Antiderivative means integration of this. Now the question is, find the value of f of 6. F of 6 means you have to get the value of the function fx. Now, how do we get the value of fx? From this statement. Integration of this is guess. Okay, then how do we get this fx? What should we do? What are we aware of? We are aware of integration and derivative. They are opposite of each other. So what do we get from here? It is 3x minus 1 multiplied to, and here we'll get the derivative of this expression, which will be 12x cube minus 3 times, that cancels with the denominator 3, x square, plus 2 times x, that cancels with the denominator 2, you get 3x. The constant gets cancelled. So this is what you have. So fx is now what? Fx is 12x cube. 12x cube. Now one thing is clear, there is an x cube common. So that gives us 12x square minus 13x plus 3 upon 3x minus 1. Now this is not the end. You have to get the value of f of 6. Now f of 6 says that you have to put the value of this expression, in this expression, x as 6. Now look at the calculation that you will have to do. See the calculation. The calculation that you have to do here is putting the value of x as 6. It's in the denominator itself is coming out to be 17. And then x square 36, 36 multiplied to 12, 13 multiplied to 6. Then you have to take up all this operation, get its simplification, and then divide if it is possible. So again, it is actually not that. Look at this expression very carefully. You will get a part of it. See, 12x square minus 13x. Can you factorize it? Check whether it can be factorized. How do we check? It is 12x square minus 13x plus 3. Now what you do is use this factor. It is 3x minus 1. Fine. Now what should be the other factor? If it is possible to factorize, then what should be the other factor? Now what is to be multiplied by 3x to get a 12x square? Check that. What will it be? 4x. Likewise, what should be multiplied to minus 3, 1 to get plus 3? It's minus 3. Now check whether this is the second factor or not. That is, it is factored as 3x minus 1 and 4x minus 3. Check it. First term that you have is 12x square. That's okay. Then it is minus 9x minus 4x. That's minus 13x. And minus minus 1 minus 3 is 13. That is, it is factored, and it is factored as 3x minus 1 with 4x minus 3. So that means, won't it get cancelled? So what is fx finally? Fx finally is nothing but x multiplied to 4x minus 3. Hence, therefore, what is f of 6? So see how easily you are going to get the answer. 6 times 4 times 6 is 24. 24 minus 3 is 21. So that is 120. So that is the thing that you had in this particular question. So you will have to be very careful to handle the simplification part. Don't just keep on working. Every question, as I'm reminding you, every question has a time allotted for its analysis. So please don't immediately start working on any question. And be very sure what to write in the next step. If you see any simplification, look for that simplification. Now, this is question number 28. Now, the definite integral, the moment you see any expression in the limit a to b fx, what property is to be thought of? It is a to b f of a plus b minus x. That's the property that you should think of when you get any function with definite integral. Now, when you think of that property, you'll find that since this is pi on 2 plus pi on 4 minus x, so what we have is it's a little more complicated expression. A plus b, pi on 2 plus pi on 4 minus x. Pi on 2 will change the ratio, it becomes 6 square to the index 6, but it is pi on 4 minus x. Likewise, this will change to tan and becomes pi on 4 minus x. So you have, in fact, the structure of this integrand remains the same, but in fact, you have complicated the expression also. So which says that this is in this question, we do not have the application of this. So what is it based on? It's based on direct integral. So how do we integrate it? You have to integrate it through the substitution. Seeing this cot square x, you should be able to remind yourself or identify this substitution that you have. It is required for this. Cosec x is equal to t, then it's minus of cot square x dx, that comes out to be d. Right? So it's the integral of t to the index 6 and cot square minus cot square dx minus cot square dx is minus of t. So this is the functions part. Now what about the limit? When we have the limit as x as pi on 4 becomes cosec pi on 4, that is it becomes root. And when x is pi on 2, t is cosec of pi on 2. Cosec pi on 2 is 1. So what we read in this, the upper limit is less than the lower limit. So we'll have to rewrite this expression as root 2 1 e to the index 6. So this is the final integration that we have. So what is that you have to integrate t to the index? T to the index 6 integral is t to the index 7 on 7 and then write down this, sorry, I have not interchanged. Here it will be, this will be 1 and that will be 2. Root 2 here and 1. Let us now apply the upper limit. Upper limit is root 2 to the index 7 minus lower limit 1 to the index 7 upon 7. So the answer to this, the maximum simplification that you can do is, you can really write it as root 2 to the index 6. Root 2 to the index 6 is 2 to the index 3. 2 to the index 3 is 8. It is 8 root 2 minus 1 on 6. Leave the expression in this form. Do not go for further simplification. That's the answer that you find. This also will not require 5 minutes. You'll be able to solve it within 5 minutes. That's why I said certain questions will require some time, more time. You have to decide how to handle it. So now next is a question on definite integrals. Now again, definite integrals, there is option. You have two choices. Both the choices, it is almost the same. The length of the question remains the same. So it is up to you whether you should take up the first or the second. Anyway, let me take up the first. That first one. Now, any differential equation, I insist that everybody should start with the statement of dy on dx. Fine. After writing dy on dx, you can decide what we have to do. So on taking dy on dx, you find that the remaining part, since it's on the same side, dy and dx are on the same side of 0, we have a negative side when you take it to the other side. So that makes it minus y, and then this will be plus e to the index minus of sine inverse x and for root of 1 minus x square upon root of 1 minus x square. Now, why did I say, see, for any differential equation question, first try to see whether on writing this as dy on dx, You are getting some function in xy which can be separated as a function in y and function in x. Another function in y. That is it variable separable form? In that case, we can rewrite it. That is all the terms of y to be taken with y, dy and dx. Now, the second thing is, can you convert this? Can you convert this expression in the form of some function which can be expressed as g on x or y, g of y on x or x on y? That's your choice. In that case, it becomes a homogeneous. Everything that is every expression that you see in that y and x should be in the form of y on x or x on y. If you see it, then it will be homogeneous. If not, none of these two forms, then it may be linear. So let me tell you through this question. Now, can you rewrite this expression as a factor of y with a factor of x? No, I don't think, because there's the plus sign in between. So that is, we are rolling out this form. This form has been ruled out. Now, in this form, can you write it as y upon x? That is, you have to get a y upon x means I'll have to divide multiply by x here, isn't it? That y upon x will be there, but this will be an x. That, and then there's an x square here. If I try to take out that x square from here, this expression comes out to be 1 upon x square. So this is also not expressed in the form of y upon x. Hence, the last choice that we have is the linear differential. So this is actually a linear differential equation. It's a linear differential equation. What is the format of a linear differential equation? The format of a linear differential equation is plus 1 upon root times 1 minus x square y is equal to e to the index minus sine inverse x upon under the root 1 minus. If that is so, then in that case, we look for the integrating factor. What is the integrating factor? It is e to the index integral of whatever is the coefficient of y. What is the coefficient of y? It's 1 on under root of 1 minus x. And that is giving us e to the index sine inverse x. So the integrating factor is e to the index sine inverse x. You might get this question for objective type also. That is finding only the integrating factor. Now, again, the integrating factor seems to be a complex expression. Don't panic. Just look at the expression. See, substitute it, you will get the result. See, you'll get some simplification. Don't get panicked by seeing the expression. There will be always a way out. So what is the general solution? The general solution is y multiplied by the integrating factor. Integrating factor is e to the index sine inverse x, right? And that is equal to, it's equal to integration of the integrating factor multiplied by the remaining term, that is whatever is there on the right hand side. Multiply it to the index minus, the moment you write this, don't you see that it is the whole expression is getting reduced to? Isn't it reduced to? What is that reduced to? There's no working part on the left hand side. So integration of 1 on under root 1 minus x square is only the thing that you have on the right hand. So what is the final answer that we have? It is y multiplied to e index sine inverse x, that's equal to integration of that is 1 sine inverse x plus. So now the question is to get the value of c. Now it's given in the question that is x equal to y equal to 0. That is, put x and y as zeros, we get c is 0. So for final answer that you have is y is equal to y to the index sine inverse x is equal to sine inverse x. That's all. So c comes out to be 0. So that's a working step that you have take up for this differential equation. Okay. Now the next question. Next question is again a question based on differential equation. Now, as I said, just now I said, rewrite this expression in the form of dy on dx. I'll rewrite this as dy on dx. So what is that you will get? X square y plus yx times root over y square minus x square on x cube. Now, after you are able to rewrite it, check whether through some manipulation are you able to convert it to the form of y on x. When I separate this expression, you'll find that this is y on x plus, now, here it's y square minus x square. So y square minus x square means this x square has to be taken out. When it comes out, it becomes x. And that x and this x makes it x square divided by x cube will give us x. So finally, it is y on x multiplied to under the root of, again, we have under the root of y square upon x square is y square and x square minus 1. So see, wherever you have any expression of y on x, it is y on x, y on x, y on x everywhere. So that means this is a question which is based on homogeneous. So we have the substitution for it, bx, y equal to bx, and this is giving us, we have to differentiate it, dy on dx changes to b plus x dv on dx. Fine. Now can bring it, what will this expression change to? What will this expression change to? This expression changes to v plus x dv on dx is equal to, what do you see on the right side? It's v plus v times under root of square minus. So isn't there a simplification here? V gets fat. After this substitution and simplification, we find that the expression reduces to variable separable forms. It is d on v times under root of v square minus 1, and the other side has dx on x, so we can integrate. Finally, the homogeneous expression after the substitution gets converted to variable separable form. What is the answer to this? Answer to this is sec inverse v. Now, what is v? Y on x, and that is equal to log of x plus constant. Now here it is general solution, so we don't need to get the value of c. So one step less than the previous question. This question you had to find the value of c. Here we can. That way you can decide. This is a general question, general solution, so we don't have to work a step more than that. So you can choose this question. Again, it's up to you. That's your decision. Now, the next question, that's the last question of section. Yes, what we have is, it's the 30th question. Now, it's frame the from frame the below optimization problem as a linear programming problem and determine its feasible region graph. You have to identify the feasible region. Now, what are the things that is given? So how do we make use of it? What is that you require for it? You require the constraints and the objective function. And the objective function is not asked, only the feasible region. So you require only the constraint. So how do we frame those constraints? Read the question, you will get the inequations. To raise hens and cows, so that is two types of animals he has, and some extra money apart from his agriculture. He wants to raise no more than 16 animals. That is, let the number of hens be X. You'll have to explain this. Solution, let the number of hens be number of hens be X, and the number of cows be. The first statement that you have is the number of X, the constraints that you have. Constraints. What are the constraints? That is, X plus Y should not be greater than 16. That is, it's less than or equal. What's the other constraint he has? On not including no more than 10 hens. There's a second constraint. He should not have more than 10 of hens, less than equal to 10. And on an average, it will cost him rupees 25 and 75 per day to raise one hen and one cow. He will make an average profit of 12 rupees on each hen and 40 on each cow. He has a budget of 900 per day to raise. How many types of animals should he raise? Now, what is this 900 meant for? It's a budget to handle these, that is, to have these animals. So cost that he has to bear with a hen is 25. So with X hens, it will be 25X. For one cow, it is 75. So therefore, with Y cows, it will be 75. So the total expenses that he'll have to bear is less than 900. He cannot have more than 900. So these are the constraints. Along with the two hidden constraints, that is X and Y, they are greater than equal to. Now, these are the constraints. Now, what is this meant for 25 and 75? That is objective function. It is not us, but you should be able to get. What is objective function? Objective of the statement is to get maximum profit. So when what will be the maximum profit? It is the maximum of the statement, that is 25x plus 75. Now you have shown the constraints, but a linear programming problem and determines its feasible region graphically. That means you have to show the graphical part of it. Again, I'll show it through the. uh, this is the first line. X plus y is equal to 16. The next line that we have is x equal to 10. X is equal to 10. So that's the next line. Let's draw the lines and then we see the region. Fine. The next line that we have is 25x plus 75y is equal to 900. So these are the three lines that we have. These are the three lines. Now, how do we identify the region? The first graph is x plus y is less than equal to 60. I'll just copy it in the. Okay, this is the graph that we have. In this, we have to identify the region. So this line is x plus y is equal to 16. Now, what will be less than 16? Which region will be x plus y less than equal to 16? How do we take up? Use any point of x and y as. So I'll prefer to go in for origin. Put the value of x and y as origin. 0, 0. So what do we read this inequality as? 0 plus 0 less than 60. It's a true statement. So shade the region which contains 0, 0. Which is that region which is containing 0, 0? It is this part. And we don't need to take up in the second or in the fourth quadrant because we already have one constraint, that is x and y is positive. So we have the region shaded part only in the first quadrant. Right? The next one is x is less than equal to 10. X is less than equal to 10 is this particular line. This is x equal to 10. So which region is it? Again, use any convenient point. The most convenient point is usually 0, 0 unless the line passes through the origin. Now here this is not passing through origin, we'll go for origin. So 0, 0. Put the value of x as 0, y as 0 and read the inequality. It will be 0 less than 10. It's again a true statement. That means shade the region which contains 0, 0. Which is that region? It is on the left hand side of the line. Don't say it below the line or left hand side. It is, you have to identify what region we'll get from it. Last one is 25x plus 75y is equal to 900. Now 25x plus 9, this is 25x plus 75y is 900. This is the equation. Sorry, not this. This is the 25x plus 75y is 900. This is the equation we have. Which region is to be shaded? Again, you find that 0, 0 is on one particular side of this line. So it is better you go in for 0, 0. Put the value of x as 0, y and 0 and read the inequality. It will come out to be 0, 0. So what is that? We have it below. It is towards it is towards the origin. So what will that be? It is this particular region. is this particular region. So when you look at the whole as a whole, which region do you find is the one which has all the three shades? Isn't it this particular region? Isn't it this particular region? So you have to shade this, you have to shade this. uh, you have to highlight the region because that's what the question says. It is this boundary, then it is this boundary. Highlight the region, name it, the quadrilateral, the polygon that you are getting. This is named as O, A, B, C, D. So the feasible region, this is how you'll answer. Feasible region is the O, A, B, C, D. The polygon O, A, B, C. Fine. So that's how we take up this question. This also requires little time. So as I said, the time management, you can utilize the time for this question. You can take up in, you have to be very cool in taking up the, because you'll have to draw the graph. Another very important thing, you will find that the graph sheet is stitched in between the answer paper. Please do not remove the graph sheet. Instead, wherever you have the question, whichever place, bring the question to this part. That is, before the graph, you try to attempt the question, put the question number properly. There will be no problem in having a question, different order question. But the number of the question number should be very clearly mentioned. So please do not detach the graph. Instead, bring the question near to the graph. Right? Have you understood this part? Now, the next question is a question at the last question of this section is two numbers are selected. It's a question based on probability. Two numbers are selected at random from the first seven natural numbers. If x denotes the smaller of the two numbers obtained, find the probabilities distribution x. So you just have to find the probability distribution. Yes, there's another option here. Both the questions, it seems to be of the same type. So let us attempt both the questions here. What is required for this question? You have been given seven natural numbers. Seven natural numbers. The natural numbers starts from 1 and you have to select one after the other. Now the selection of it is without replacement. That is, first if you select one number, let it be 1, and then for the second choice, that is second selection, you will not be getting 1 because we have already got 1 that is not put back in that slot. Hence, the replacement says that 1 will not be repeated when you take up the 2 numbers. So you will have to find out the minimum of the combination of numbers that you have. So how should you go about? That is, if you take first number as 1, then the next number could be 1 and 2. Then the minimum of it is 1. The next is with the same number 1, minimum of it is 1. So don't you think that it is going to take time? Because it can be with 2, 1, minimum is 1. So this method is going to take little longer time. Now, what I advise my students, if you have such questions, what you do is take the help of, make a table, take the help of a table. Table is just draw horizontal line and vertical line. Is one horizontal line, likewise, sorry, vertical line, likewise, there is another horizontal. Now, above and before the margin, write down the numbers. The numbers they have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. What is that you have to take up? What you have to take up, write down that here. That means when you take up a combination of numbers, you have to go in for minimum. This is one from first slot. This is one from the second lot. Now, one from the first lot, one from the second lot is not possible because of the term without replacement. So we will not have any option here. Now, next is one from the first and two from the second. Of the two, which one is minimum? It will be one. One from the first, three from the second lot, one will be the minimum. That means with one as first number, second lot has any number, whatever be the number, the minimum of it will always be one. Likewise, here you have first numbers are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Second number is 1. So minimum of it, 2 and 1's minimum, it is 1. 3 and 1's minimum, it is 1. So you'll find that 1, 1, 1 is the minimum when you have its combination with rest of them. Next is the combination with 2. 2 and 2. We have already taken up 2 and 1. Now with 2 and 2, it is not possible. Then 2 and 3, 2 will be the minimum. With 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7, 2 will be the minimum. Likewise, 3, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 5, 2, 2, 6, 2, 2, 7, 2. Then with 3, 3, it is 0. So now I think you have understood the pattern in this box, filling of this box. So it is easier. You will be doing it faster. And chances of getting wrong is also less. The previous method that I started, their chances are that you will miss out some elements. Then there's no choice. We have leave out. It is 6, 6, and that's last. So what we have is what will be the random variables? X. What does X stand for? In for the probability distribution, we require the table. So again, we'll have to make a table. So we'll make this table. This first column representing X, the second column representing its probability. So let's write down. This has, let me have this as X, and this is, now what is Xi in fact? Now what is Xi? The least, what all you get here? What are the least values that you'll see here? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's 1, 4, 5, and 6. Right? Now, so now what will the probability of 1 be? How many times you're finding 1 out of the total? Now, what is the total event that you find? How many events are there? How many events are there? Isn't it 42? Isn't it 42? So what we have is number of ones is 6 here, 6 here. So it is 12 on, it's 12 on 42. The next number that you have is 10 on 42. The next number that you have is 12 on, sorry, it's 8 on 42. Sorry, it's not 12, 8. It's 8 on 42. That's 8 on 42. Again, you're finding the pattern. Just see. So is it possible that you might go wrong anywhere? You have a correction at every step. Now analyze this quantity 12 on 42. What is the meaning of this? 12 on 42 says that you have 1 in the first option and any number in the second option. How many numbers do we have? There are 6 of it, isn't it? So getting 1 is 1 out of 7 and getting the rest, it is 6 on 6 because we are not replacing it. Likewise, it is possible with any other number with 1. That is 6 on 6. That is, this is going to repeat multiplied by 2. So don't you see that 12 on 42? So do we need to look for all this calculation? We already have it in this part. So this is a part which is a part of the solution. That's an explanation part. So very easily you are able to answer this question. There are only 42 outcomes out of it, and it's 7 multiplied by 6. It's replacement. Everything is handled in it. So this question, you may get a variance in this. That is, it may be minimum, it may be maximum, it could be the LCM of the two or HCF of the two, whatever it is. Whichever way it is, you can always handle it through this. Or sum of the two numbers. Sum of the two numbers with replacement. Sum of the two numbers, 1 plus 1, 2, 1 plus, you just write down the blocks what we have. And accordingly, you write down the sum. It's easy that way, and it will be less, it will be able to do in less time. That's it, right? Now the optional part, what is in the optional part? If there are three coins, one is two-headed coin, another is biased coin, and the third one is unbiased. One of the three coins is chosen at random. That is, it's the chances that there are all the three likely to be selected. No, any one can be selected. And if it shows head, you have to find one of them and it shows heads. So it's the probability of head. The probability of head depends upon the three types of coin. So you will have to identify. So let's take up this table. That is the table for what is this? It's a Venn diagram representing the events. What are the events in it? We have three types of tossing of coins. We have three coins. Explain it. What is it? One is a two-headed coin, and the other one is a biased coin, and the third one is an unbiased. The chances of tossing the three coins are same. That means the probability of it each is one out of the three, that is 1 on 3. Now, what is that you have to get? You have to find the probability of head. We're finding the probability of head. The probability of head, what is it depending on? It is the probability of head when it is from the two-headed coin. That means you are selecting the two-headed coin first, or it could be when a biased coin is selected and we get a head from it. It is a probability on restriction, that is head under the condition that it's a biased coin. Or the third option is when we select an unbiased coin with the probability of getting head with the unbiased. Now, what is its value? Write down the value. Probability of two-headed, it is 1 upon 3. And when it is head, when it's for the two-headed, what is the probability that you get a head with two heads? It is 1. This probability of biased coin, 1 on 3. Probability of head when it is a bias. What is it given? For a biased coin, it turns up head 75 times, 75% times. It's 75 on 100. Thus, unbiased coin selection is 1 on 3. Multiplied by, it is 1 on 2. It's unbiased coin, so the chances of getting its head is 1 upon. Now, next, the question is not, that's not the question. You have to find the probability that it was from the two-headed coin. It doesn't stop there. You have to go ahead. You have to find the probability of the two-headed coin is there when it's head. So what is the answer to this? It is the probability of two-headed multiplied by probability of head when it is two-headed upon the total probability, that is the probability of head. Now see here, I have not gone for any calculation here. Please avoid a calculation here. Instead, you write down the same expression. What is that you'll have here? It will be 1 on 3 multiplied by 1 on 1 on 3 multiplied by 1 plus 1 on 3 multiplied by 75 upon 100 plus 1 on 3 multiplied by 1 on 2. Now, I always suggest my students to have a smart work here. That is, you know that there are certain terms getting cancelled. Cancel that. It is 1 on 3 gets cancelled because there's 1 on 3 in the numerator as well as in the denominator. The rest combination that we have is the summing of numbers in the denominator. Numerator is just a one quantity. The denominator has to be added. Now, how do we add? We all know we need to take the common denominator. So instead of that, what I do is I make the denominator of all these quantities same. That is, the highest denominator that I can see is 100. So now make everything, convert everything to 100 divided by 100. That means it will be multiplied by 100 on 100 here. It will be multiplied by 100 on 100. It will be multiplied by 50 on. So what is the advantage of this? Look at this calculation. Now each of the expression, the numerator and the denominator has this 100 also common. So that will also get cancelled. So finally, what is the number that is left in the numerator? It is 100. And what do we have in the denominator? It is 100 plus 75 plus 50, that is 125 plus 100 is 220. So isn't the calculation easier with this way? What we have is 4 on 9. This way, the calculation becomes a little easier. That's the reason I insist my students not to take up any calculation here because we need to go in further here. If you simplify here, then simplification or calculation becomes a little difficult. I suppose that you all have understood the techniques to take up the question. This was the last question of section C. Thank you. If you have any doubt, please do ask in the next class. Okay. Thank you.